Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage. I've got a special little secret to share with you. It's related to a bit of insider knowledge on our interior trim. So we've discussed it many times before, but my car, Purdy, has what we call sport trim. And sport trim was not particularly popular, especially in the UK, where more conservative tastes tend to rule. But basically the car came with Classic, and Classic has typically paler walnut dashboard, possibly a bird's eye maple, but not this smoked bird's eye maple. The top of the dash would have a pale taupe or mushroom sort of effect. The bottom would match in with the seats, either a magnolia or oatmeal, etc. And the carpets would be beige. So this interior trim, called Sport, is very contrasty. We have the black carpets, or charcoal I should say. We have two colour door cards which contain this sort of waffle pattern material, which I really like. The black tops, charcoal speakers, and the seats are all in cream or oatmeal or whatever your choice. But whereas the Classics have the vertical ribbing or pleats in the trim, the Sport trim has this crosswise stitching, larger panels, and looks quite different actually. You see the two side by side, it is quite a contrast. Now, I'm remarkably lucky in that literally 4 doors away from me, until very recently, lived a guy called H. Hayes. I believe I know his first name, but he never uses it, and he wouldn't answer if I used anything other than H. So H. Hayes is the guy who developed the leather coverings for the XK8 and many other vehicles of note. He's worked on everything from Maseratis to his very last involvement was the leather trim for the XC40, the current Volvo SUV, and he did that 6-7 years ago before it was launched. But he basically looked at how you would manufacture, how you would fit the leather covers involved with the seating that was designed by, in this case, Lear Corporation. And H is obviously very knowledgeable on seats, leather trim, and all the rest of it. And he's a real big fan of this particular seat, the Lear seat, because they managed to get such a comfortable seat into such a small package without compromising it and making it look ugly. He personally wasn't a real fan of the later change to the Recaro seat because, as he said, you know, it's a really nice seat, it's a really comfortable seat, but it looks like every other seat, whereas these look like XK8 seats. H was able to share one really interesting secret of the XK8 with me, and that is that this wasn't exactly how the seats were intended to look in terms of their leather trims. This is a change that came about as a result of testing with clientele. And so people were brought into the studio to look at the car and comment on various features. And they were specifically pointed at things and said, what do you think of this? Rather than letting them basically come to their own conclusions. So it was a little bit leading. What he shared is the original seats actually had black piping. And so this stitch line here and round the headrest would have had a quite chunky black piping, and it would be about 8mm diameter. So it would have been a lot more jazzy and even more contrasty than they are now. And what came out of this design studio is when people were pointed at, and what do you think of this? Bear in mind, a lot were selected from existing Jaguar clientele. And I said, therefore, oh, that's a bit much. But nobody commented on it before they were pointed at it. H was there at the time. And so the compromise was made that they'd use black twin stitch instead of piping to again sort of signify the sport trim, the more jazzy, the more extreme trim. So twin stitch on the edge of the dash, center console, the armrest, the seat trims, instead of black piping. And what brought this conversation to mind quite recently, as you'll have seen in a previous video, I've now got as my daily driver an X350, and although not black, it does have in sovereign trim that super chunky piping, in this case in not too contrasty sort of mocha colour. But that would have been the effect on our seats. And actually, because this panel is actually quite a lot like our seats but flipped upside down, you can kind of see the effect it would have had. So, what do you think? Would we have been better off with an even less subtle sport trim? Would it have reduced sales even more? Or would it have added something to the vehicle? As always, dead interested to know what you think, and looking forward to your comments. Please share, please like, please subscribe. And for the few of you who are worried that because there's a 358 in the garage, that the XK8 secrets are finished or dried up, nope. There may be a small pause whilst I get that one ready and fit for use, but plenty more to come on this, and lots of great stories from owners, which I've just got to get around to turning into videos. See you soon, guys. Bye.